This is So-Called Normal. I'm Mark Hennick. Hey folks, welcome to So-Called Normal. I'm Mark Hennick. Today on the show we have Brigitte Truong, a social media star, entertainment host with Cineplex. She's the VIP host. For those of you who go to Cineplex VIP theaters, you'll see her up there on the screen. She's a host on CHCH TV as well. She's a digital content creator and just an all-around really nice person. I really had a great time talking to her. You know, one of my favorite things that we talked about in this interview today, she really validates that it's okay to sometimes have a good cry. That it's okay that you just need to have a pity party for yourself for a while. Although Bridgette's very structured about it, as you'll hear us discuss, schedules her time for her pity party, and then she goes on with her life. You know, and that was so great because it's for me. It's not that people who seem happy and like they've got it all together never struggle. Sure, they struggle, but just like everybody else, and that's the whole point of the show. Of course, they get through it, and I loved Bridgette's enthusiasm, her optimism, as you'll hear. That when you don't know what's going to happen next, that's okay. It'll be okay, and I can relate to that too. A few months ago, geez, it's been more than a year ago now, up and quit my job because I got this book deal and I wanted to work on this podcast. I wanted to get on more stages and do more speaking. That's the stuff that gave me the most energy. But I was scared. I was terrified, actually. You know, I was climbing the ladder as I was supposed to do, and all of a sudden here I am without a safety net. I had built in a couple of months to give myself some wiggle room, and then I didn't know what I was going to do. I was just had to figure it out from there, and you know, it was tough, sure, but I wouldn't change it for anything. The lessons that I was able to learn and what I was able to take from that, not knowing what was going to happen next, that was my greatest fear. So like anything else, I leaned into it. I ran toward the fear instead of away from it. And, it's been one of the greatest times of my life. So, I hope that when you listen to Brigitte, it'll inspire you to take some of those risks too. I'm not telling you to go out and quit your job, so don't pin that on me. I don't want you to do that. But if that's right for you, if there's something that you need to do, you should do it. And who knows? Don't worry that you're going to get it all figured out. If you're waiting for all the right answers and you're waiting to have it all figured out before whatever it is you're hoping to do to change your life, well, guess what? You're going to keep waiting because you're never going to have all the answers. So anyway, that's my little tangent for today. I'm going to pass it over to my interview that I have with Brigitte. I had fun. I hope you have fun listening to it. Here she is.
On paper, I'm a multimedia host and producer. That's what pays the bills.
Okay, so what are the multimedia that you host on?
So I'm on television still, which is weird.
Why is that weird?
I think
because TV's
over. You said it, not me. Yeah, exactly. I don't know a lot of people who have cable, but
right.
I'm a television host, so I've been reporting with CHCH on the entertainment side and hosting their entertainment shows since 2009.
Really? It's that long?
It
Wow,
has been a long time, eh? Yeah. So we started with The Watch List, which was all about movies. Mm-hmm. And I was just telling your producer, I've been in this building before because we have a lot of junkets here.
Sure.
Sorry, not junkets, screenings. And now I'm on And Pop. So that covers all pop culture, not just movies, film, TV, the digital space, fashion, culinary scene, all of it. I'm also with Cineplex.
Yeah, so I want to talk about that because I see you every couple of weekends when I go to VIP.
You go every
Cineplex
couple?
VIP.
Amazing!
I do. And actually, ever since they started opening the VIP ones where you can drink and eat and all that stuff at the seats, it's spoiled me for any other theater. And I get to see you every few weeks.
Yeah. So it's so much fun with them. I've been with them for a couple of years now, primarily in their VIP theaters, which is the theater that you fancy. Yeah. And I'm really happy to hear about that. So I'm covering right now TV, so the small screen, the big screen, and the digital landscape. So I do a lot of campaigns, social media campaigns, create web series for various brands. And it's been so much fun because now I'm tapped into kind of all avenues of entertainment. It's
always
really unique.
Yeah, always in the pop culture entertainment kind of sphere?
Yeah, I would say pop culture, entertainment, and lifestyle.
Okay.
So a lot of the social media stuff I do with brands, it's across the lifestyle spectrum, whether it's in food, fashion, travel, you name it.
What draws you to that, or what drew you to that originally?
Social media was just an extension of my entertainment hosting and personality. And then it kind of became this creative outlet for me about 4 years ago when I left my positions that were full-time. I left a 7-year relationship, which was all I knew in my 20s. You know, I felt like we were married. We had a house. We had a dog. And it didn't work out. So there was this, I'd say, summer where everything I knew just kind of fell apart. And I took to social media as this verbal and visual diary where I can just kind of spew my thoughts. And it was kind of for myself, but I attracted an audience, which was really interesting. And then I saw just this platform as an opportunity to talk about and create things that I normally wouldn't be able to on television.
So that's a pretty dramatic life change then, it seems, to that kind of relationship.
Totally. And I think because that was where I was about 26, 27 at the time. And when that's all you know what I mean?
Right.
You feel like you're an adult at that point.
Right.
I didn't have
Every 20-year-old feels like they're an adult.
You do. It's so true.
I'm in my 30s now, and I still am not convinced that I'm an adult. Although the grays are starting to come in. That's a whole new thing.
That's a rude awakening for sure.
Yeah.
But at the time, when you're in your 20s, you're like, I'm invincible. I've got this under control. And when I say this, I mean life. And you feel like you have it all figured out when you never really do, as we just talked about. And so when that kind of fell apart, and then I left my full-time position because I was laid off, I was like, who am I?
Right.
So that was kind of the turning point in my career and my personal life.
So how did you frame that? I mean, some people encounter that kind of challenge, and obviously it's scary, but some people don't make it through that, whether they don't have the resourcefulness or the skills or whatever. And some people take it as a challenge just to really barrel ahead. I mean, it sounds like you used it for good.
Yeah, and I mean, like, to be completely transparent with you, I had no idea what I was doing. It was either, take what you have left and kind of run with it, or go after the dreams that you've always kind of put in your back pocket.
Right.
And now you have the opportunity to go chase it. But I think when you're at that age where you think you were someone and now you have no idea, I turned to partying for a bit. I traveled a ton and wasted so much money on things that and trips that I didn't need. And I was just always running away from problems. But that was a really short period of time. And I became really grounded when I was like, well, I have nothing left to show at 26.
Well, I think you almost need to do that whole proverbial find yourself kind of thing, right?
Yeah, I think it's important. And we all go through it, but I just think at different points in our lives.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. So still as a young person in media, you've still been involved for quite a long time. You've had a fairly lengthy career already, almost 10 years in the space. So what kind of changes have you noticed in either entertainment reporting or the pop culture scene over that period? What's different now from when you started?
Oh, man, that's a really good question. A lot has changed. Not only just, the landscape in general in terms of what you can talk about and where you should talk about it. But it's just the space is evolving so quickly that I think if you look a lot closer, a lot deeper, you find that it's becoming kind of this mixed messaging boiling pot, if you will. And I think now that the digital landscape has kind of taken over all other mediums, it's kind of drawing up these problems we've always had, like, celebrity obsessed culture, all that vanity that we're kind of glued to every single day. I think that's just being pushed more to the forefront than ever before.
Yeah.
So I've had this conversation many times with my friends in the industry, and you hear about the term fake news all the time, and you do kind of see that. You do, no longer is journalism online really what it used to be. You don't really need the credentials to talk about certain things that you used to.
Well, nobody asks.
Nobody asks.
Right.
Yeah, you can, you can be one person one day and you can be whoever you want the next day simply by changing your bio,
right,
or tweaking your LinkedIn.
This is actually a funny point. So a few days ago here at the studio, I took a picture with the Emmy that E1 has downstairs.
I saw that.
Yeah.
I was like, did Mark win an Emmy overnight?
Well, so this is it. So my little social experiment that I did with this picture of me with the Emmy, I set it as my profile picture on LinkedIn. All of a sudden, I started getting so many friend requests or follow requests from people on LinkedIn. And I was like,
way.
Where the hell were you fuckers 6 months ago? Now everybody wants to follow me because they think I have an Emmy.
Do you see what I mean? Optics.
Right, optics. And I didn't say that I had an Emmy. I didn't say, it was just a picture. And suddenly everybody wants to be my friend. Right? So you've had the opportunity to, in your line of work, interview a lot of celebrities, A-listers.
I have, yes.
You know, some people who are just getting into it versus lifetime celebrities who have been born into it, essentially. There's some people seem very comfortable with celebrity. Some people seem suspicious of interviewers, of journalists, of people trying to get the gotcha, the scoop. How do you find that middle ground? How do you develop a relationship within, how long are your segments with celebrities? Not very long, I would imagine.
They're not. So it's really interesting how it's structured. When I got into this whole thing, I was like, oh, this is very organized. I thought, you just kind of get a spot on the interview list, and then you just sit down with the celebrity and go at it.
Right.
No, it's very structured. So when you do get an interview with an A-list celebrity, it's usually while they're in town promoting a movie.
Right.
And so they're only given a block of time to bang out all those interviews. So I usually only get about 4 to 6 minutes.
Yeah.
So let's say average 5 minutes per interview.
Yeah.
And within those 5 minutes, I know I have to get as much meat, as much content as I can.
Now, they probably have, they do this so much on these junkets, they probably have it essentially scripted, their little 5-minute thing,
I would
right?
think so, yeah, because, they're the standard questions
Sure.
you kind of want so that you can use that in your show. But then you want to have fun with it, too.
Right.
And my research process always involves watching old YouTube interviews because I want to kind of get a sense of who they are in an interview.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to find out who they are in 5 minutes. But I want to kind of get a sense of the rapport we might have, and then kind of go off on that.
And that's when it's even more important, because you only have that 5 minutes. You need something that people want to watch.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. So if you're just reading your questions, it's not going to be all that interesting for people.
No.
So you've got a very short window of time to make a meaningful human connection with them. Right?
Exactly. And you have your own podcast, and I think a lot of the good stuff comes from just a really relaxed, transparent conversation with the other person. So I try to keep that top of mind every single time I go in. Doesn't matter if you're just new to the scene or you've been doing this for 40 years and you have, I don't know, you're an EGOT status.
Right. Do you
just want to make sure we have that conversation?
Yeah, especially for breakout stars and things like this. And I don't know how, I didn't go through the list of all of the different people that you've interviewed over the years, but have you ever gotten a sense that some of these people are more afraid of you than you are of them? Almost like bears. Like they're still obviously new to this and trying to figure out what to say and how to say it?
No, I can't think of a time where I felt like they were kind of nervous with what could follow the next question.
Sure.
But
Or even if sometimes, some of these celebrities have stuff coming into these interviews with them. There's something in the media, there's something in the news. The publicist tells you, don't talk about that. All that kind of stuff. Is that ever in the air? Do you feel that when you're talking to some of these people?
I do, especially when I get the warning before I go in.
Right.
Hey, just a heads up, and as I'm walking in, so-and-so does not want to talk about this.
Right.
I'd love to give an example, but I don't know if that'll get me in trouble.
Yeah, I was going to say, you should probably be discreet. But,
I probably should. And then I'm like, oh, man, that throws off my whole head game and my vibe. All right. But that's good to know. And then when you walk in, the last interview I remember, when I walked in, I just remember thinking, oh, God, okay, so he's already gone through this, which is why the rest of us are getting that warning. So maybe he already has a bad taste in his mouth and he's not going to be as friendly. And he wasn't very chatty.
Right.
So I think that, you just have to feel out the interview and then see where it goes. But I always find that the famous A-listers who have done this for a really long time are the most, the friendliest and the ones who have the most to say.
Okay, I don't. You probably won't have to be as discreet with this. Your favorite people to interview over the years?
Oh, I do get this question often, and it's always the ones with that clout that are my favorite. Alice Cooper
Oh, yeah?
One of my most memorable interviews. It was very short. It was on the red carpet. He was in town to promote his documentary at the time. And he was just so personable. On the red carpet, you have about 2 minutes, which is no time. Usually it's one question and then they're gone. But he stuck around, and, when he came up to me, he's like, "Sweetheart, how are you?" And I was like, "Oh, hi. I'm great. You're Alice Cooper." Yeah. This is, 2 minutes is up. All right.
Yeah.
But he was just super genuine and so lovely. Daniel Radcliffe, one of my all-time favorites, one of the only actors ever in the past 11 years of my interviewing career where he actually stood up, and he does this with everyone. He stands up, introduces himself as Daniel.
Oh, that's so nice.
And gives you a hug. And then you start the interview. You're like, oh, wow. Like my neighbor probably wouldn't do that.
Right. Yeah. That's
just,
funny.
Yeah, very, very personable. Drew Barrymore.
She seems wonderful.
Mark, lovely.
Yeah.
She is wonderful. What you think that she might be, just based on what you've seen on the big screen, is exactly who she is. She's super bubbly. She's friendly. She's giddy. Yeah. And she's very, very transparent. She divulges everything. So that makes for a fun interview because you can talk about something else outside of, the standard.
What you're told to. Yeah.
What's your new movie like?
So what about... especially among celebrities over the last even 5 years, but 10 years, the conversation around mental health has evolved. There always used to be the tabloid cover stories about who's in rehab or who's exhausted or who's this or that. But now people are actually talking about their diagnoses, if they've attempted suicide or they have depression or anxiety or an eating disorder or whatever. Have you had much experience reporting on talking about these kinds of issues, and have you ever had these kinds of conversations in person with people?
I've never I've never been able to interview celebrities about this really important topic, which affects all of us in obviously many different ways. But I have spoken about it online, on the digital space, on my own platforms. And I think it's really important. Like I said, we all experience it in many levels. And I think when you're in the entertainment industry, there's so much going on that affects just how you look at yourself, how you view the world, how you look at jobs and money. I think that it's a really important conversation to have in entertainment. I think that it needs to be discussed more, and I hope that it's not a trend.
Right. Yeah.
Do you sense that sometimes?
I mean, that used to be a concern of mine when, Bell Let's Talk first started here in Canada, raising awareness for mental health. But that seems to be less the case now. It seems to be more embedded, and it seems like millennials and younger, and some research has talked about this too, are just way more willing to be open about what they're going through and to ask for help, which is even more important. It's fine to be open about what you're struggling with, but what are you going to do with that? How are you going to navigate that? Right?
Exactly. And I think, a lot of us are still trying to figure it out.
Right.
Like, how do you navigate something that you might not fully understand?
Yeah.
And I go through that every single day.
Yeah.
As a freelancer, yeah.
How so?
I've been running my own business for a couple of years now, and I wouldn't go back. I love it. It's so fulfilling. I have so much fun every single day, and I take pride in what I do. But I remember watching Joan Rivers' documentary years ago, and one of the things that she talked about in her documentary is how she freaks out. It stresses her out when she looks at her calendar and it's empty.
Oh, I remember that.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, I
and
saw
I was
that.
like, really? And at the time, I didn't really understand the gravity of it.
Yeah.
I was just like, this woman's lying. She's probably always busy.
Right.
But, she was showing her calendar and there were empty slots. And now, being in the position, as my own boss, sometimes I have, months where I am just not busy or needed at all. And then there are months where I'm so busy that I don't have the time to sit down and think about what's important for dinner. Yeah. I don't know, those little things. So there are stresses on both sides. But when I have those slow months, you can't help but ask yourself, oh my gosh, what is my value?
Sure.
Am I not valuable?
I was just thinking about this on the subway ride down here today, and how I quit my job to go and write this book that I'd been working on. I'd always worked in an office kind of 9 to 5 type setting, often, being ambitious and trying to climb the ladder and staying the extra hours and doing all that stuff. And then realizing that I was thinking this morning that my concept of working hard every day meant doing something every single minute. And that if I didn't, maybe partly because I was raised with this scarcity mentality where you had to make something good with the time that you have. But if I didn't, I felt like I was being lazy or unproductive or unuseful or whatever else it is. But then I started to realize that doing something like this podcast, you can come in and record 2 episodes a day or something like that. You're not working every single minute. There's actually quite a bit of downtime in between, but you're creating something much bigger, right? So that's something I was just musing on today, that quality over quantity of the work that you do, right?
That's important.
Yeah.
I really like that, actually. It's a good way to look at things.
So now, of the work that you do, what gives you the most energy? I mean, it sounds like because you run your own business that you get to focus on the things that you want to focus on rather than all the other stuff, right?
Yeah, and that's why I can't go back, because it gives you this high. You have so much control over everything, which I think for me is important. Although for some people they might think I'm a lunatic, but
the control piece, you mean? Is important?
Sure.
The projects where I get, the projects where I get to have full control.
Yeah.
On the production side, writing, the editing, all of it, that's what gives me the most excitement.
Is it because of the end product and looking at it and seeing I created that?
It is, yeah. And I think because for the longest time, and I've thought about this a lot. I'm I like to reflect a lot on what I do and who I am. But I think it's because growing up, and I love my parents dearly, but I grew up in a household where I was being told, what I should do and what I shouldn't do all the time.
Right.
And even today, my mom will call me on a Friday night, like, what are you doing tonight? I'm like, oh, it's my friend's birthday. We're just going out and celebrating for a bit. Okay, make sure you don't drink. And I'm like, oh, Mom, I'm 31. Okay. Yeah, it's always,
right.
You shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do. So when I can just fully do it all, that excites me.
So a strict household growing up as well?
Pretty strict, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now, is this an Asian thing?
I think it is.
Yeah,
I think it is.
Because I hear, of course, of the B being the Asian F and that kind of thing. Was that reflective of your upbringing as well, where you have these high expectations?
150%, and I was rarely ever that A student.
Right.
So it was tough. It was very tough. I failed math in the 10th grade, and it was like the end of the world. It was. I was like, I am never going to be anyone in life.
Right. Yeah. So what did your parents do?
My parents, my parents are originally from Vietnam, and really interesting story. When the war broke out, my mom and her family were lucky enough to flee and fly to Canada, and they've been here ever since. My father, on the other hand, when the war broke out, long story short, he came from a very wealthy family, and the communist government seized everything. And so he and my uncle and grandmother were refugees and actually took a boat to Indonesia, saw and experienced some terrible things until they were able to kind of make their way to Germany and then to Canada. So it was a whole process, and I'm the only child.
Okay.
So I understand based on, their experiences when they were younger and how they got to where they are today. Yeah. And I understand that protective nature from them because they've seen so much and they can see what can actually happen outside of your doorstep. Yeah. So they fear of the worst in everything.
So what did they do after they came to Canada?
They've just been here ever since. They've always been blue-collared workers. They're still working today. My mom works for a company that distributes like beauty products to big companies like Hudson's Bay, and my dad works for Magna.
Okay.
You know Magna.
Yeah, the manufacturing company. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So did you take anything from your work ethic, your entrepreneurship from them? Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, my parents worked really, really hard to even find us our own place when we were a kid. We stayed with my aunts and uncles for a really long time, stayed with my grandparents. Eventually, they've made enough money to get their own apartment. And I just saw how much they struggled, and it wasn't their own choosing. It was just where they decided to end up. And I never wanted to struggle as much as they did.
Right.
So found entrepreneurship maybe a few years ago, fell in love with it, and that the hustle that is involved in being an entrepreneur is just so exciting. Yeah. And to kind of put that pressure on yourself is
it's fun. It's challenging.
It is fun, and I can really relate to that more so now than I did. I mean, when I first made the shift about 3 months in, I went, what the hell did I do? Oh my God.
yeah, exactly. I don't have any benefits.
Yeah,
What?
exactly, yeah. So does it ever become too much? Did you ever have days where it's like, holy crap, I don't know what I'm going to do?
Yes.
Yes. So what do you do? How do you figure that out?
I give myself, this might sound ridiculous, but I give myself maybe a solid hour to be upset about it. I give myself.
That's interesting.
I give myself a time limit. I'll literally time myself on my phone. Yeah. I'm like, okay, what am I feeling right now? I don't like it. I'm trying to pinpoint these feelings. Okay, well, I don't see myself snapping out of it the next minute.
Right.
I set my timer and either give myself an hour or 2 hours to feel that way.
That tells me so much about you, that you schedule in your self-loathing time. That's wonderful.
God, you nailed it. I think you should self-loathe from time to time because no one else will do it for you.
That's right.
And you don't want to rely on anyone to pity you.
Yeah.
So I'll give myself like a pity party for a little bit.
That is awesome.
And during that pity party, I try to be as productive as I can be.
Yeah.
So I'll literally do a lot of writing, and I write down, why am I feeling this way? What do I need to do to snap out of it? And then when that timer goes off, then I get back into motion.
Who taught you that? Who taught you to do that? Or did you just figure it out?
I just did it.
Yeah.
Because I would spend like days, like Mark, just a rational amount of, I don't know, sadness would come out of me, and I would spend 2 days doing nothing but, stew in my own misery. And I'm like, man, that was a waste of time.
Right.
So now I'm like, I think it's important to go through the feels.
Sure.
So let's feel them out, but I'm only giving, this is me talking to myself.
Yeah.
I'm only giving you 2 hours max, and then you gotta be somebody.
Yeah. But that's such an incredibly healthy way to do it. Like it's extraordinary.
I've never talked about it before, by the way.
Really? Yeah.
It's just my own thing.
There's our scoop then. There we go.
It is. Breaking news. Yeah.
Yeah. Bridget's pity parties. From 2 to 4 on Saturdays.
You're not going to have them for me.
No, well, that's right. But no, because you're right. I mean, the old way to do it, I think, is to bottle it all up and push it way down, and then eventually you have some outburst in the workplace or something, right? Or the opposite, and I think a lot of people have done this, where you get so stuck in that place that sometimes you're there for weeks, and then it turns into depression and anxiety and all these other things. So why not just have this controlled explosion, get it out, and then move on, right?
Controlled explosion.
Right.
That is the best excuse ever. My boyfriend's like, what's wrong with you? I need to have a minute for my controlled explosion.
Yeah, I guess that's better than pity party, maybe.
I love that.
I don't
That's
know.
like the whole, what is it? Conscious uncoupling.
Yes,
I
love that conscious uncoupling.
Yeah.
I was just talking to somebody else
Semantics.
about that too. Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, it's important.
But actually, that's cool too, because how we narrate things, what we call things, makes a huge difference, right?
I mean, words are powerful, you know, and we interpret them all differently. But I mean, I think if it works for you and it's healthy, then do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You had trouble with your elevator speech. So why is that? Do you not want to confine yourself to 3 lines of copy? Or what's the fear there of summarizing yourself in so few words?
Oh my God, this is like a therapy session.
We're going
and
deep,
I'm all
right?
about it.
Yeah.
Yes. Also, like, not to say, where's my cake? But I had my birthday was yesterday, and so I feel
birthday.
thank you. This is such a great way to kick off the new year. Yeah. Do I feel like I don't want to be? Yes, I think you're right. I don't want to be confined to a label that I'm giving myself.
Right.
I don't know now that you mention it, yes, I agree with that. But I also don't know why that is. I'm wondering if it's because I don't want to be just that one thing. Or maybe I feel like, who am I to kind of restrict myself to one thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. I always, I wake up every day with so much gratitude, especially for my parents who have gone through so much to get us, to create this life in Canada, that I don't want to just be, this one thing in one box. I feel like I can do a whole lot to justify them coming here.
Right.
If that makes sense.
No,
maybe
that makes a ton of sense.
It. Yeah.
Do you put a lot of pressure on yourself to live up to that expectation?
So much.
Is it an explicit expectation, or is that something that you just believe that in order to please them, in order to
It's not explicit. I don't
it.
talk about it. It's a belief. And I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed with Shark Tank. Side note. And I love Robert Herjavec.
Yeah.
I love him.
Yeah.
But he talks about it on the show often.
Sure.
With a lot of entrepreneurs, and why he will always feel like he will be indebted to his parents, who are also immigrants. But nothing he does, the amount of money he makes, the success that he, receives, none of that will ever be enough to thank his parents for all that they've done. And I truly feel that way. So by saying, hey, I'm this one thing, I'm like, well, no, like, what, do I change it tomorrow if I decide to do something else?
Right.
I don't know. I just don't want to be locked into anything.
Yeah, I don't want to settle down into that one thing.
Does it sound like I have commitment issues?
No,
Maybe.
not at all. Actually, I'm really relating to it because that's like my worst fear ever, to do the same thing for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, then how do you evolve?
I don't know. I haven't figured that out yet.
No, but I mean, like, when you're one thing, can you evolve?
Yeah,
I'm sure you can.
Yeah.
I don't know.
My mother went to Catholic school. We were raised Irish Catholic, or I say Irish Catholic. They were actually Ireland via Newfoundland, via Cape Breton, all kinds of steps in between. But part of that was that, they wore the uniform to school every day. It was strict. They were taught by nuns, all that stuff. But even within that really restrictive kind of environment where you're told almost everything that you have to do, they still found little ways to be creative, little ways to change, to evolve, to put their own spin on even something very tight, right? So I think that people do find ways to do it, but I don't know. I have the similar fear to you that I just couldn't be confined like that, right?
And do you have your 30-minute elevator pitch?
No, I don't
down?
know. I don't know.
And I don't even know if that's necessary nowadays.
But so apparently it is, in order to convince people of things, I guess, or what you do. I don't know. I change my Twitter bio all the time, so I don't know.
That's how you do it now in 2019.
Well, exactly, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
This idea then of, and I think it's a fairly common story of immigrant parents coming in and wanting the best for their kid, especially if you're an only child. I think there's a lot there too. And then you wanting to reciprocate that. What about someday, do you ever plan on settling? I know we just talked about not getting too stuck, but settling down, having a family, and trying to raise your own kids?
I don't think it'd be wise of me to say no.
Right.
Definitively no.
Sure. I mean, just not even close to there yet, kind of thing. Yeah.
Well, I mean, things change all the time.
Sure.
I've never been. It's never been a priority for me to have my own family. I think it's a beautiful thing to have your own family, though, which is the funny part. Yeah. But I've just always been so focused on my career.
Right.
And I love creating content. That's just, I think about it all the time while I'm eating dinner, while I'm brushing my teeth. I think about stories to tell that I don't necessarily think of my own stories.
Reading to a kid at night.
Yeah.
Cleaning, changing diapers and all that stuff. Yeah.
Sounds fun.
Yeah. Well, no, it doesn't. No, it's not.
I know you have two baby boys at
home.
I do,
yeah. So it's not fun.
No?
But no, the reason I ask, though, is because sometimes you hear about the generational change that, your parents came here to do all this and that you wanted to validate that. But then a generation in, there's less of that pressure, right? So then how do you communicate that work ethic to others, that dedication to others? Right?
It's a very good point. Yeah. Well, my parents do not put the pressure on me to get married or have kids, which is, I think, interesting for Chinese parents.
Is it?
I think so. Yeah. And based on my cousins, too, I know they some of them get the pressure. But I've never been pressured to, take that next step. And I think because they know where my head is at. But I would love to pass on all of my experiences and whatever wisdom I have to a younger generation. I don't necessarily think that it needs to be a generation that I create on my own.
Sure. Hey, you said you're a creator, after all.
That is very true. But, I mean, I've worked with Big Brothers Big Sisters for a couple of years, and I loved it. But organizations like that where, you can partner up with them and tap into a younger generation who I think everyone needs a mentor, but who really could use a mentor.
Now, do you think, because this is, again, a generational shift, I think, there's far less pressure on women, especially, it seems anyway, speaking as the white guy sitting across the table, but there seems to be far less pressure on women to start a family, to settle down, all this kind of stuff. And I don't think there's ever been that pressure on men, of course. But do you feel that too, that it's just not, an expectation?
I definitely feel that. The narrative has completely changed. And I think, given the past year that we experienced as well, and how, female empowerment is such a hot topic, as it should be. But right now, because it is, I think that the whole message behind you can be whoever you want to be and you can live the life that you want to live is really resonating with every demographic within the female community. So I think that, there's no pressure nowadays to really fit a certain type of mold, which is so exciting.
Right.
It's so exciting.
I find in the, where I live in the mental health community, there still is that confine. And this is why I'm so interested in what you're talking about here, because people apply these labels to themselves all the time, that they receive a diagnosis maybe, or they feel all the symptoms, even without the diagnosis, of depression or anxiety or an eating disorder or personality disorder, whatever. And then I think there's a risk that they over-identify with that label, and then they feel like sometimes they can't break out of that label, that then the label owns them instead of the other way around. But what you're saying is that with that aversion to the label, you get to create that. You're the one that gets to call yourself whatever you want. You don't have to fit into that box.
Yeah. And do you think that being a female is a label, like being a woman or a man? Do you think
That's
they
an
have
interesting question? Yeah.
become labels in their own right?
Turning the tables on me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, now that you bring up labels, I was just thinking, I'm like, well, it kind of is.
I think it is. I think it is. And certainly, I experienced this growing up, what it means to be a man, what a real man is supposed to be. Yeah. That doesn't even mean anything anymore especially in terms of millennials and younger. So I think that is true. You hear about this all the time in high schools with bullies. And there's been some research to suggest that if you call someone a bully and you label them that, it doesn't matter if they actually ever were or they were, but they'll start behaving that way because that's the label that they've received, right?
Right.
So I think that we do a lot to try to, I guess we try to give ourselves sense, to make ourselves fit, to make ourselves run with the crowd, whatever crowd we're told to be in.
Yeah, absolutely.
You've never felt that way, though. It seems that you want to
you
do your own way.
When I was younger, absolutely.
Yeah?
Especially in my early 20s, too. And that's why I kind of found myself in a position of, I don't know, I felt like being a young housewife with zero experience in the real world. So, I found myself kind of in this box for a while.
That's true. It sounds like it almost went in the opposite direction for you. You
totally
were settled down through your 20s in many ways.
Many ways.
And then broke out.
Personal and professional. And I think that's why today my paradigm has completely shifted.
Right.
And I'm super different than who I was at 26. But I think, going back to the labels, I think there is a particular label with being a woman now. And that is that you can just redefine what it means to be a woman, and in your own way, which is nice.
Yeah, and I think the same is true for just about
everyone,
everybody, but every label too. That just because you call yourself something or somebody else calls you, that doesn't mean anything. You get to decide what that is.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So me coming up with like an elevator pitch, I'm like, like, what does that really mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you see coming down the road for you then? I mean, if it's always changing, if you're always creating, is this going in any particular direction, or are you just taking it day by day?
This is such an interesting conversation to have, because I was talking to my boyfriend the other day, and he's like, Bridge, you know what you are, and I love you, but you need to know this, that you're more reactive than you are proactive. And I was like, oh, okay. Thanks for coming out. But at first I was like, what? What is this? And I'm like, wait a minute, keep going.
Yeah.
And he's like, let's, for example, talk about your career. You're a very day-to-day person. You like to live in the moment, which there's nothing wrong with that, But in that, as you're growing up, you need to plan, certain things for the future. So you got to be proactive. If there's something that you want to achieve 6 months from now, you got to work back. You got to see, what do I need to do? Maybe, what kind of calls I need to make, what kind of emails I need to do in the interim to get to that point in 6 months or whatever it is.
Right.
But you kind of react to things that come your way every day as opposed to planning for those little steps. And I'm like, oh, you're absolutely right. Okay. Good talk.
Yeah. So, nice pep talk.
Yeah,
Thanks
nice
for
pep
that.
talk.
Yeah.
So that being said, and I don't think I'm the only one out there that's kind of like that because we're expected to take on so much every day.
Right.
So it's hard not to just look at the responsibilities that are coming your way at that point in time. But looking ahead, honestly, it scares me to look 5 years in advance, so I'm going to stick with 3.
Yeah. That feels more manageable.
That feels more manageable. But in the near future, I really just want to create content and partner with brands who believe in telling honest, truthful stories that tap into everyone's lifestyle. We all have common threads, and mental health is one of them. It's something that maybe we don't all talk about. It's something that we all deal with. So as humans, I want to find those, through lines, those storylines that can allow us to connect with one another more and find commonalities a lot more versus differences.
Yeah.
And hopefully I can continue to do that in the near future, but then 3 years, I definitely want to have some big series out that tap into that.
Okay. Yeah. So now I like when you create those little short bite-sized tutorials. I believe you call them. Yeah. Because you touch on a lot of these themes, and this is one of the reasons that I wanted to talk to you as well. So what motivates those? Do you just get an idea while you're brushing your teeth in the morning and then flip on the camera and do it? Or how much planning goes into that?
You know what? A lot of it is based on emotions.
Yeah.
Which is, I guess, interesting because a lot can come from that. But it could be topical, it could be emotion based. And sometimes it could be something we're talking about today and it'll spark an idea. And then I'll just flesh out the script and then I'll just bang it out. And the reason why I wanted to do these tutorials was because I wanted to offer advice. And I thought, well, I wouldn't call myself a fashion creator or just an entertainment creator. I kind of talk about everything, and life is a big thing. Kind of, the pursuit of, your own purpose and being who you are is a really big topic in a lot of the things I discuss. And so I thought these little videos hopefully can inspire someone out there to get off their butt and take control of their lives, A, or B, just go after it. And I've been doing it for a little over a year now, and I've gotten some great reception. Yeah. Cineplex picked it up.
Oh, did they?
This past year.
Great.
Which was really exciting. So I created a bunch for the big screen before the movie starts. Yeah, so that's the reason why I do them versus just writing a blog post or just a little Instagram caption. I thought, let's create these like short bite-sized videos that'll hopefully just allow one person to think.
Yeah.
To shift their paradigm.
And certainly the video content is way more engaging anyway.
Thank you.
Well, and especially for our audience, I think we share a demographic. So what has the response been like from that demographic so far? What kind of things are people telling you about these things you're creating?
It's really interesting. You get people who reach out privately and tell you, just spew, tell you about a really, really terrible experience that they recently had or have had, and why this tutorial really resonated with them. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. I can't believe we're finding this connection. I have never met you before, and this little video that's 60 seconds can shine some light on a problem that you're experiencing. Or you'll have someone just message you and say, oh my gosh, this put such a huge smile on my face. I didn't even know I was like watching, but I just found myself watching it 3 times in a row. I'm like, what? That's amazing. That's great. Thanks for the view counts. So you kind of runs the gamut, but it's really, really neat. And that's why I keep doing them.
Do people ever ask you how they can do what you do?
Yes.
Yeah. So what's
all the time.
I find that question really challenging, actually. How do you answer that?
So people ask you too, like, what do you do?
All the time. Just, how do I be an advocate? How do I, be a speaker? How do I be a writer? Whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't friggin' know, because
you just do it. Yeah.
I just do it. I just figure it out as I go. I don't know. But you have a bit more intentional of an approach than I do.
I don't know if I have an intentional. Well, with the videos, yes. But
Sure.
when someone asks me, how do you do what you do, or how can I do what you do? There are certain answers, but it all comes down to, and it might sound cheesy, but I always tell them, if you don't believe that you can do it, no one else will.
Right.
So, and I mean that in the sense that, like, if you don't wake up today and feel confident enough in who you are and what you're doing and the purpose of what you're doing, the person listening is not going to believe what you're saying at all. So you got to really believe in yourself, why you're doing it to begin with, and then you're going to find an audience who will believe it too.
You know, and I find that the worst piece of advice that I ever give people, but I think is the one that's helped me the most, is that you're going to fail. Don't be afraid to fail. Actually, it's lean into the failure, because that's how you learn how to do it.
Exactly. You're absolutely right. And, you know, when you fail, hopefully you can see those as like really important lessons to take with you. But if you don't believe in yourself and why you're doing something, you're not going to have any motivation to find those lessons, to keep on going, because it gets tough. The going gets real tough.
Well, and if you're going in expecting that everything you do is going to be amazing and successful and great, and you only see the stuff that's successful, you don't see the 10 failures before that, right?
You don't see those pity parties that you throw for yourself.
Yeah, or the controlled explosions.
And count your blessings you don't see them.
Yeah,
they
exactly.
Ain't pretty. Yeah.
But it's true. And do you think that, looping back to the celebrities that you interview, your own creation, this image that we cultivate, that Twitter bio, that elevator speech, whatever.
Yes.
How authentic is it for most people, do you think?
I don't know. This is such an interesting conversation. I have no idea, because you see it all the time. Let's say, for example, Instagram.
Right.
So I think when you go into Instagram, in your bio, you can pick like a tag, not a tagline, but you can pick a subject of who you are.
Yeah.
So whether you're an entrepreneur or a blogger, whatever it is. And public figure is a really big one. And I had this conversation with a friend in the summer at a conference. Like, what does a public figure mean anymore? And we couldn't figure it out. I guess if you have some kind of public social media profile, that makes you a public figure now.
And maybe this comes back too to those celebrities who have been really successful and are secure in their success.
Right.
I don't think they see themselves necessarily as a celebrity, as successful. They're just doing the work, and then
so too. You're right.
The credential comes on after that. The acclaim comes on after that. But the people who are striving for it, the people who are trying to grow into their pre-written bio, whatever it is, this construct of who they think they should be, they're the ones that never seem to really attain
You're
that, right?
Yeah. So to answer your question, I don't think that there is a high level of authenticity. I think everyone's just, we live in this culture, we've bred this culture where everyone's just trying to be someone.
Right.
Well, let's be honest. On social media, I'm not going to follow someone who's miserable.
Right.
I'm not going to follow someone who just talks about, eating Cheetos and not having a job every day.
Right. I don't keep photo albums of all the funerals I've been to.
No, you don't. And so on social media, you tend to follow people who have these inspiring lives, or lives that you aspire to have. And I think subconsciously maybe that leads you to believe that you need to project that image too in order for someone to like you.
Yeah, we're attracted to what we want, or what we think we should have or could have or whatever. And for many people, that does serve as a motivator, I think.
Yeah.
For many others, you hear about the, FOMO all the time, fear of missing out, and all these people off on their great vacations and doing these great things. Meanwhile, they're probably sitting in their apartment, putting filters on their pictures, doing all the Facetune stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And people bank those photos too. They're not on vacation all year.
And this is it, and schedule them out and do all this stuff. But people really believe it. And I think we're still in this really interesting place in social media where, it's not really new to us anymore, but Facebook started when I was in college. Like, it's not that long ago.
No.
So I think we're still trying to figure out that this isn't totally real life out there, right?
It's not. I'd be lying if I said that I weren't strategic with my posting.
Yeah,
100%
sure.
I'm strategic. I'm not I'm not going to post a picture of, last night, for example, it's my birthday and I didn't want to do anything, so I sat and watched Fargo all night and watched and ate cake.
Nice.
It was amazing.
Yeah,
it was amazing. But I didn't think to take a picture of it for some reason.
Right.
I would have, but I just didn't think about it. Meanwhile, if I were on a red carpet, 100% I would pick up my phone.
Sure.
So I don't know what that is. I think we all do it, though.
That's so interesting. Yeah, I did. So I have 3 months of posts scheduled out on my Facebook page. Like, it's just
amazing.
Easier.
Yeah.
And it's often just thoughts or things that could be evergreen, that if it's a poll or if it's a question or something, I'll probably forget it. So I'll schedule it out because it doesn't need to be there now. So it's all still very organic in that way. But I noticed that what by far gets the most engagement are, I post a picture of me at the grocery store, just having a very normal life moment. And that's the stuff that seems to get the most response in many ways.
Amazing.
It's not this curated stuff.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if that's partly just because of I don't think that I have a brand, but, working...
But it's the authenticity that
Well, this is it. Yeah,
right?
Talking about mental health, talking about free expression, all that kind of stuff, that's part of the package. Whereas in your world, the entertainment world, there's almost an expectation on you that people will see pictures of red carpets, I think, and see all these other stuff, right?
Yeah. I mean, I should probably make a better effort at maybe showing that grocery side to me or that Fargo side.
I don't know about that. But and that's it, too. Actually, I don't think you can, and you see this sometimes, contrived authenticity. People trying to just fake authenticity, which doesn't work.
How do you fake authenticity?
Yeah, really. Look how authentic I am, right? Yeah, it doesn't quite work.
I think because I've been in social media has been an extension of my business for a couple of years now.
Right.
I always remind people, don't hang your hat on one thing, especially social media. Mm-hmm. It's evolving so quickly. Sure, there are huge social media influencers out there who create a fantastic living just off of one platform, can potentially turn it into something else one day. Mm-hmm. But I wouldn't just hang your hat on being a quote-unquote influencer.
Right.
But I don't
It doesn't even mean anything.
It doesn't mean anything, A. And B, what's going to happen in a few years? I don't know. I don't think Instagram's going anywhere. I don't think Facebook's going anywhere.
No.
But I mean, look at Vine.
Well, and you have I think anyway, a very authentic, bubbly kind of personality.
I try.
Well, it's true.
Yeah.
But it doesn't come off as an affectation at all because it seems like, that's pretty much how she probably is. And it turns out it is. I think anyway.
Yeah, my pity parties are usually pretty upbeat.
Well, other than that. But, I think that comes through. That I think that you can see when it's a veneer, when it's just a construct, right?
Yeah.
Versus somebody who's really just doing what they love and they just and that's driving it.
Yeah.
I think personality comes through.
And brands they are weary. They still are, I think influencer marketing is huge, and it's probably not going anywhere in the foreseeable future, but a lot of brands are a little weary about maybe carving out a bit of their marketing budget for this because, like you said, how do they really know what the payoff is? I'm sure there's a back end thing for them to figure it out now, but they might not really know versus a commercial or whatever.
But what is the future then of, in your perspective, doing what you do, certainly being on the personality end of it? We're moving away from TV advertising, newspaper advertising's in the toilet. What's the future then for brands?
I think in different forms of storytelling, they're going to find ways to incorporate their brand, their messaging, into certain stories that are being told. So whether it's in a trailer, because everyone's consuming content on their phones, right? So if it's in short shareable content, whether it's in a blog post or whatever it is, they're going to find ways to kind of weave their name in there. And I think it's a smart way to do it. I remember going to a conference a few years ago, and I know him now, David Beebe. He was the former VP of content for Marriott. And he was one of the people that were instrumental in bringing M Live Studios to the forefront. And you think of a hotel chain like Marriott. What? You have a studio? You're creating content? Yeah, that's what they started doing. And they created this short film called The Two Bellmen. I think it's on YouTube. Won some awards. Fantastic short film. So much fun from start to finish. And the idea was, having these two bellmen, and they're on this whole heist robbery thing that's going on. It's a short story, but it all takes place at a Marriott hotel.
Right. Now, is that the background or is it really product placement out front kind of thing?
Because the story was just so engaging and it was so just exciting to watch, you weren't really looking for those obvious logos. And maybe it wasn't obvious.
Right.
But you knew it was taking place at a Marriott
Sure.
because there were two bellmen and they're at a hotel.
Right.
And that was really smart. That really changed the way I looked at storytelling, especially with brands incorporated into it, because Simon Sinek, and I'm sure you're familiar with Simon Sinek, talks about the why all the time. It's, people will buy into, like, you're looking at a story, you're compelled by it, you might be relate on some level. Oh, it just so happens that it's promoted by this brand because they support this vision too. So yeah, that totally changed the way I told stories. I always put the story first, and then if a brand comes in, then we fit in the messaging in some way.
So that the Trojan horse then is relatability in terms of storytelling. Yeah, that if you can relate to people first, you're bringing along this other thing with you, which, oh, by the way, happens to be this hotel chain or whatever.
Yeah.
That it's not just beating people over the head with the brand. Right?
Exactly, because people see shit all the time. They're being sold at every single second of their online life, that it's nice to kind of take a break from that. And so why do you pick up your phone and order something? Out of want, out of need, out of an emotional pull. If you can emotionally tug at somebody's heartstrings because they're relating to something you're doing, a vision you have, a campaign that you're doing, why wouldn't you start with the story first?
One of the things that I often tell people who are struggling very acutely, I said this on my TED Talk at some point too, that it's because of their struggle that we need them to be involved in conversations changing mental health and in getting involved in workplaces, getting involved in media, because that's your in. It doesn't. You can go two ways with it. With whatever your struggle is, with whatever your story is, you can get stuck in the pity party, in the symptoms, in the controlled explosion, the uncontrolled explosion, whatever it is, or you can do something with it. Those are pretty much your only two options, right?
Pretty much,
it can do something to you, or you can do something with it.
Exactly.
And that, I think, is up to you. It doesn't have to be a big showy thing, but do something with it. It's your content, so do something with it.
Exactly.
Right?
And it's exciting to see. There are holes in influencer marketing, but it's really exciting to see brands kind of take that leap in marketing and partner up with people who have stories to tell, and their stories affect thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people who are following them. Yeah. So that's the influence, is that relatability that they found between this entire audience they've created on their own.
And that old quote that the most individual things end up being the most universal. You tell a very specific story that only you one time experienced or something, and it turns out, oh, by the way, thousands or millions of other people know exactly what you're talking about because they've been there too.
Exactly.
Well, then, do you think brands need to try to create these general, broad-based stories that get as many people into the tent and to see their logo as possible, or to know who your audience is and to tell stories that relate to them?
That's what it is, to know who your audience is, because people can cut through the bullshit so easily these days. And if you're a lot of times I'll have these brand partnerships and they'll tell you the messaging that they want to get through, but they want to trust you. They want to trust you as a creator, and they know that you have an audience that trusts you. So do what you will with that messaging, and let's make magic happen. Amazing, love it. But then when you do that and then they see it, most of the time they're actually unhappy with it.
Really?
Yeah, because, well, I shouldn't say most of the time, but sometimes they might be unhappy with it because it's a story they're not familiar telling, or it's just, like you said, it's that authenticity that they're not used to.
Right.
Because I think when you're working in a branded environment, it's a controlled environment, right? When you're out there in the digital space, oh my gosh, you can talk about whatever you want. It's a free-for-all, exactly. So it's just a different way of telling a story.
Right.
So I'd really, if any brands are listening, I'd really like it if they were more open to that transparency when you are teaming up with a creator. Because you're teaming up with them for a reason, right?
Yeah.
And usually, hopefully you see the professionalism in them, but you should trust that that story will take everyone far.
Yeah. Anything else you think we should talk about? We covered a lot of ground
here,
didn't we?
Yeah,
we psychoanalyzed you. We figured out your childhood.
I can't believe I told you about my pity parties.
Brigitte, thank you so much. I love talking to you.
Thank you so much for having me, Mark, and thanks for doing what you're doing.
All right, that's my interview with Brigitte. Thanks for listening to it. You can check her out on, she's an Instagram star, she's on Twitter, she's on YouTube, she's everywhere. So look her up, Brigitte Truong, and check out her videos. I want to ask you as well, a big favor, head over to Apple Podcasts, subscribe to the show, give us a rating, preferably a really good rating. I'd like that, but I'll leave that up to you, because your support really helps the show. If you want to give us some more of your feedback, if you want to learn more about upcoming guests or conversations we've had in the past, other things, head over to markhennick.com/so-called-normal. You can also follow me on Twitter at Mark Hennick, or Facebook, same thing, at Mark Hennick, HENICK, 1N. I want to give you one more little chance here too. I didn't mention this before, but if you go to betterhelp.com/Mark, you can get a 7-day free trial of online counseling. Counseling can be super difficult to access sometimes, especially in person, or if you don't know who to talk to or what to talk about. So if you want to just get your feet wet and try it, go to betterhelp.com/Mark and get your 7-day free trial of effective, safe, highly qualified mental health counselors who can help you out. That's it for the show today. Please tune back in next week, next Monday. We've got another great guest, and I hope to talk to you again soon. Thanks so much.